Domesticated actions come with domesticated results. Look at the two men, Schrodinger and Pavlov. This is how you domesticated people who were born not so much wild, but natural. And when you take all of the nature out of them and conform them into a cog in the wheel, into a part of the machine, you transform a person into a house pet, both a cat and a dog hybrid. This is what PsyOps, psychological operations, crisis events. These things are designed to transform the human being into a mixture of dog and cat. Let's deal with the dog side. For the dog, what do they call it? Man's best friend. So now you're under a spell, an obligatory spell to be what? To be obligated to mankind. This has its pluses and its minuses, though, you understand? Because to be a slave to man is no good. To be in service to man is all good. To be a slave under the thumb of and under the control of man is no good. That's a dog. That's a pet. You get a collar. You get a leash. You're not free, but you're a dog. You spend a lot of your time indoors, but you're a dog. You get transformed into something that was once wild and is now domesticated. A show is dedicated to you, with your handlers handling you in front of the world. Superstars on this level get turned into dog. When it comes to their handlers are presenting them. Everything from the stylist to the media training. All of these things domesticate a person, turn them into a mixture of dog and cat. You'll be sniffing around, trying to see if the scene smells right. You'll be following your nose. You might be hooked on some vices and really start following your nose, because most vices are connected to the olfactory system. You usually sniff it out. You can smell it. When drugs have to be seized and the cops can't find it, who they go get? The drug sniffing dog. So the dog is the one that gets dragged around drug, because you're being reduced to the opposite of God. You're God backwards. You're God in reverse, which is spelled dog, G-O-D-D-O-G. Turn you from God to dog. That's 50% of the coin. Or that's heads right there. That's heads. I'll go back and forth from heads to tails perhaps, but let's flip it over to tails and deal with the cat. You have Schrodinger dealing with an entity or a cat who is assigned 9 lives. In the experiment, this cat is trapped in a steel box that is subject to decay, and once the radioactive decay is detected, a poisonous gas is released, definitely killing the cat. But the idea of it was to debunk the principle of the theory of quantum superposition, to say that you can't exist in both states at once. And you really can't, neither physically per se, right? Because we're talking about what we can physically prove. You can't be in 2 mental states at the same time, 2 emotional states at the same time either, even if the fluctuation is within nanoseconds. You can't be in 2 states at the same time. So quantum superposition is bunked. But should we pay the price of being the cat for it? Because let me tell you about this steel box and about this 9 lives and about this cat thing. Some people do feel like they're in a steel box, that they're trapped in a world that they're boxed within, that is subject to decay, that is subject to poison. They are Schrodinger's cat. And while people on the outside, their excuse for not rescuing the cat is to prove a theory. we are being experimented on as the cat. See, at least with the dog, that's why that's the head's side of the coin. At least when we're the dog, we're just being trained to salivate when they tell us to. They're controlling our appetite, using other triggers to signal our appetites. This is bad, and this is zombieism. This is mind control, but it's not as bad as the cat. The cat is when they go for the death blow, because they know that the cat goes all the way back to Egypt. They know that the cat's eyes are the portals between dimensions. They understand all the mythology and all the cosmology behind the cat. So Schrodinger used the cat, put a cat in a box. And with this, with you being the cat, they're on the outside of the box speculating. And they're saying, here's what they're saying, that Schrodinger ended up debunking. It wasn't worth the cat's life, but he used it to debunk this. The cat is on the inside of the steel box. This cat is definitely going to die. But because they can't see inside of the box, they're saying that the cat could be either alive or dead. See, this is what controllers of the world can do, and controllers of your world can do when they don't lift a pinky finger to raise you out of a situation that you're buried in. They could say, because they can't see inside your home, because they can't see inside the box they put you in, that they can claim plausible deniability. Well, we didn't know that the person was dead. We didn't know that the person was poor. We didn't know that the person was disenfranchised. We didn't know that the person was underwater. We didn't know that the person was defeated, was erased, was marginalized. We didn't know this because we can't see inside of their steel box. We can't see inside of the box. So for all we know, they could be doing well, even though we know what the economy is looking like. We see the numbers, and we know just what demographics and what geographical areas are being affected by this. But because we can't see inside the box, we're not obliged to rescue the cat. The cat is definitely going to die inside the box. So let me ask you, as a cat, how many lives do you live? How many lives do you have? How many times can you keep getting back up? How many times can you continue to reinvent yourself if necessary? How many times can you be flexible? How many times can you give way to a new idea? How many times can you learn adaptability? How many times can you learn to be flexible? Because all of these represent multiple lives. The idea of reincarnation is more about mental transmutation, being able to adjust your entire self to fit the same situation, and you're likewise being reborn from moment to moment, adjusting, adapting, learning, growing, expanding, enhancing. All of these things are your opportunities as the cat. This is why the cat has to be in the box. The dog doesn't go in the box. The dog is his experiment is all about appetite. But the cat's experiment is all about survival, the multiplicity of life. The cat's challenge is the grasp toward symbolic and potentially physical immortality. Because there are other laws. Let's take the law of inverse proportions according to universal laws, which is the lower your respirations, the longer you live. The merit is this: when you're taking in oxygen, you're taking in air. If you can hold on to that air, you can hold on to your life. It's the filtering out of the blood and whatever catalytic events need to happen so that that oxygen is transported well within and without your body, taking place on the inhale and the exhale, is important. But the respiration rate, and this actually does work. This is where meditation originates from the law of inverse proportions. Being able to breathe, being able to control your breathing. The longer you breathe, the longer you live. It's not about how many times you breathe. It's about how long you can control your air. This is why the opposition to this force being Satan, he's the prince of the power of the air. But you and I are the kings and queens over the power of the air. Satan is just a concept dealing with just being a prince over the power of the air. Just being a prince, just giving you one side of it, the quick and short burst, the quick exhale, the quick inhale, the quick exhale, adversarial nature, fits, anger, shortness of breath. You get it? Because he's just a prince of the power of the air. But you and I are kings and queens of the power of the air. We can consciously breathe. You're a first responder when you can breathe your way out of a panic attack. Because a prolonged panic attack can become a heart attack. But when you control your breathing, you're a first responder. You're saving your life with life, controlling what? The flow of life. Your inhale and your exhale. This is the whole philosophy behind not stressing, not being depressed. And they have measurements behind a lot of this stuff too. Like I think 20 respirations gets you like 96 years or so, or something like that. And 15 respirations or something like that, or between 5 and 10 to get you like 300 years. And then between 1 and 0, you living for like millennia or whatever the case. Your lifespan is basically becoming to infinity if you have, 0 respiration is. And of course, this makes the sense. You will no longer respire when your oxygen is not subjected to this fleshly container. Yes, that's understandable. But the longevity in this whole fountain of youth thing has a lot to do with your oxygen. This is why being hydrated is important, because you're taking water in, which is air as a solid. So all of these things are really the fountain of youth. And I know you might be feeling like Schrodinger's cat, chemtrails, fluoride in the water, products in the food. But remember, in this age, you can reinvent yourself again into something else. And if that happens to be a magician and an adept who is concerned about having control over the power of life and death, going counter to whatever schemes may be against you in that still box of Schrodinger's cat, or subjected to the sound of that bell like Pavlov's dog, then I invite you to become a magus, become a magi, become whatever you want to name yourself, but become the you that is really in control, because control is a choice, not a privilege.